We all are social beings. We decide to be liked and to be right, and we decide to belong to a group. In order to be liked and to be right, we go through a process known as social influence. Welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk on the topic social influence and conformity. Social influence refers to the way individuals' thoughts, feelings, attitudes, behaviors, etc. are altered due to the presence or actions of others, either real or imagined. Or it can be referred to the process by which individuals adapt their opinion, they revise their beliefs, or change their behaviors as a result with interaction with other people. There are three types of social influence, mainly conformity, which is adjusting behavior to fit in, then compliance, which is responding to a request, and obedience, which is following an authority figure's command. We all go through all these kinds of social influence at different situations in our life. Research on conformity was introduced by a researcher, Solomon Asch, in 1951. His famous experiment was used to demonstrate that individuals are likely to conform to the opinions of the group. In Solomon Asch's line experiment, participant was presented with a standard line and three comparison lines. They were asked to identify which comparison line matched with the standard line. Most participants in the experiment were actors who were assigned to give wrong answer even before the real participant gave their answer. In each trial, the actors gave wrong answers before the real participant could give the answer. It was found that the real participant conformed to the group's incorrect answer 75% of their time. Why do we think that we conform to a group? Research findings gives a certain reason why we conform to a group. Cohesiveness to a group leads to conformity. Cohesiveness is the extent to which we are attracted to a social group and we want to belong to it. If we want to belong to a group, we are more likely to conform what the group demands of us. In order to win their approval, we do what the group demands us to do. We see this scenario in this current world where teenagers and adolescents go through peer pressure, wanting to do what the group demands of them. The second point is group size. One of the reasons why we conform to a group is when we see that there are larger number of people in a group conforming to an idea or conforming to one answer, we are more likely to conform to that group because we see that the majority conform to that one particular idea. The third point why we conform to a group is based on two norms that we follow. First one is descriptive norms. Descriptive norms are what people actually do in a given situation. The second one is injective norms, and this is what people think others approve or disapprove of. The fourth reason why we conform is the desire to be liked, or this is also known as normative social influence. We always want to be liked and to be accepted by others, and in order to be accepted by others, we conform to the norms that they give us. The fifth point is the desire to be right, which is also known as informational social influence. Since we do not know in situations what is the right thing to do, we look to others to see what is the right situation or the right answer that we have to give in a given situation. We use others' opinions to guide our own. When we look at the digital era, we see the idea of conformity all around us. For example, the recent Ghibli trend that was going around in our social media, one of the reasons why we fall into these trends or that we conform to this trend is because we want to be accepted, we want to be liked, we want to belong to a particular group, and we do not want to fall behind the trends that we see. Now, is there any downside to this conformity? In psychology, again, there was an experiment done by a researcher called as Philip Zimbardo. In his experiment, Stanford Prison Experiment, he wanted to see if the individuals were likely to conform to the roles that they were given. In the prison experiment, some were assigned to be as prison guards and others were assigned to be prisoners. In this shocking experiment, he found that the individuals took on their roles and they were likely to be conforming to the situational pressures that they were in. Even though they were not the actual prisoners or they were not the actual prison guards, they were likely to do the role that they were given. In this experiment, he found that in situational pressures, even the good in us can turn into evil. What are the other downsides of conformity? One of the other downside of conformity is suppressed individuality. We lose our personal identity and we belong to an identity of the group. And this can lead to many issues in an individual. When we do not feel that we have an individuality, that can in turn affect our mental health. And it can lead to mental health struggles and can lead us to stress, can lead us to depression, anger, loss of self esteem, etc. The other point is we do risky behaviors. Peer pressures is one of the greatest example of conformity. Why do we conform to the group? Since we want to belong to the group, we conform to the group and we do risky behaviors, even though it might go against our beliefs. The third point is we go into a culture of complacency. We're not likely to challenge the things that's around us. Whatever is around us, we're likely to accept it, and we accept the majority opinion rather than questioning or challenging the things that's around us. The other downside of conformity is it can lead to an attitude of prejudice or discrimination in us. We might discriminate against those who do not fit with us, who do not fit in the group that we belong to. And this can lead to prejudices and discrimination in our mind. Now, we looked at conformity from a psychological perspective, but when we look at conformity from a Christian perspective, we can see that there are things that we are told to do in a certain way as Christians. Romans 12 verses 2, it says, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So as Christians, we need to be transformed rather than to conform to the ideals of the world, to the behaviors and the customs of this world. We should not conform to the worldly standards that takes us from the love of Christ. If we are trying to conform to the worldly standards, we won't be able to walk in holiness. We know many instances from the Bible where individuals stood against the rules and norms of the world. In the book of Daniel, we see two instances where they did not conform to the norms of the world. We know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Even though thousands of people in that society conformed to the rule that was there against their belief, they did not conform to the rule of the world. They did not conform to the rule of the society. And we know what followed it. They were put into the fire. But even when they were put into the fire, we see that God came into them, rescuing them from the fire. Again, in the book of Daniel, we see the story of Daniel. He did not conform to the rules of the world. Even when everything was against him, he stood for the faith that is in God. And we know that he was put in the lion's den for having the faith in God. But again, he was rescued from that situation because he had his faith in God rather than in man. We are not called to conform to the world, but we are called to conform to Christ. In Romans chapter 8 verses 29, it says, "For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the likeness of his Son." So we are called to conform to Christ. We are called to conform to the holiness of Christ. In 1 Peter chapter 1 verses 14 to 15, it says, "Do not conform to the passions of your former ignorance, but we are called to conform to the holiness that God expects of us." In the modern times, we know that we are expected to do what our peers do, but we need to have the discernment and we need to know what is right and wrong. We should not conform to things that goes against our beliefs or against our individuality. We see in this today's world, there is cultural conformity. We see the world normalizes sinful nature, but as children of God, we are called to conform to the holiness of Christ rather than conform to the world. There are ways in which we can resist conformity. One of the ways that psychology recommends is understanding the effect of power. We see in the world, people who are in higher authority are less likely to conform. If we know that we have more authority, we have more power than people around us, we won't be likely to conform to the rules and norms of what others follow. And as Christians, we need to know the power that we have. We are children of God. We have the authority in Christ. If we have the authority in Christ, we need to recognize the power that is within us. And when we know the power that is within us, we won't be likely to conform to what the world demands of us. The second way to resist conformity is through the motives that we have. Psychology says when there are motives in an individual, they can go against the cultural norms or rules or what is expected of them. In the same way, if our motive is to glorify the name of the Lord and to stand as children of God, we will be able to go against the norms that is expected of us. The third way to resist conformity is realizing our uniqueness. When we see the people who are comfortable in their uniqueness, in their authentic selves, they are most likely to do things in their own way rather than conforming to the world. In First Peter chapter 2 verses 9 it says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." So we see that how unique we are in Christ, the identity that we have in Christ. We are a chosen nation, we are a holy priesthood, and we are a people belonging to God. We are not called to follow the pressures of this world, but we are called to be unique in Christ, to spread the light of God into the darkness of this world. Conformity in itself is not a wrong notion. We are in this world, but we are not called to be of the world. If we are conforming to the things that leads us to become of the world, then that leads us away from our beliefs. That leads us away from the love of Christ. We need to be rooted in the love of Christ. We need to understand and experience the love of Christ that God has shown us. And in that way, we will be able to conform to Christ and to understand the identity that we have in Christ. We will be able to conform to holiness rather than conforming to the customs and pressures of this world. We are called to be unique. We are called to be of our authentic selves rather than conform to the sinful nature of the world, rather than conform to the pressures of this world that takes us away from the love of Christ. May God bless all of you with this video, and I hope that we all will be able to conform to the likeness of Christ and not conform to the pressures and sinful nature of this world. Thank you all for watching this video. May God bless all of you.